My name was Alina Ashford. I was 28 when they put me in prison, 38 when I got out, but we'll come back to that later. First, let me take you back in time. A year before the prison gates, before the trial, before everything turned to ashes. My father died on a Tuesday. Heart attack. Suddenly, he was standing in his office at Ashford Textiles, examining spring fabric samples, and suddenly collapsed. He was dead before the ambulance arrived. The call came at 11:47. My assistant's voice was shaking as she told me. I dropped my coffee. The cup shattered on my desk, the brown liquid spreading like blood across the white papers. I was my father's favorite child. Everyone knew it. He built Ashford Textiles from scratch, turning a single factory floor in 1965 into a $400 million empire by 2008. 12 factories. Export deals to Europe and Asia. My father wanted me to inherit the legacy. Not to my brother Marcus, the Harvard MBA and financial genius with the cold stare. Not to my little sister Sophia, always by my father's side at 23, with her sweet face, soft voice, and careful smiles. Not to my foolish playboy middle brother Daniel, who spent more on sports cars than most people earn in a lifetime. Me. The reading of the will took place 4 days after the funeral. The 4 of us sat in the lawyer's office, all dressed in black. Marcus wore a $3,000 suit. Daniel sat there with bloodshot eyes from the party the night before. Sophia held my hand and whispered, "We'll get through this together." I believed her. The lawyer cleared his throat. To my daughter Alina, 51% of the controlling shares of Ashford Textiles end. Marcus's face didn't change, but his jaw tightened. Daniel laughed, he really laughed. Of course, the golden girl takes the kingdom. Sophia squeezed my hand tighter. She made the right choice, she said. I squeezed her hand too. But 2 months later, everything suddenly changed. It started with a small thing. We got a call from our chief accountant. "Ms. Ashford, there are some irregularities in the offshore accounts." $3 million was missing. It had been transferred to accounts in the Cayman Islands. Accounts opened in my name. "That's impossible," I said. My hands went cold. "I never opened those accounts." "Your signature is on the documents." "Then they're forged." But the signatures looked perfect, too perfect. Then the fabric suppliers came. 5 of them from Italy and India claimed I had taken bribes. 50,000 here, 70,000 there, all deposited into accounts opened in my name. "I didn't do it," I told Marcus. He was the CFO. He handled the financial matters. "Someone is plotting against me." He looked at me from behind the mahogany desk. There was no expression on his face. "The evidence is quite clear, Alina. Do you think I would steal from our own company?" "People can be greedy." He leaned back in his chair. "Even those we trust." That night I called Sophia. She came over with wine and tissues. "Marcus thinks I did it," I said. "Marcus is paranoid." She hugged me. "I know you didn't do anything wrong. We'll figure this out." But we couldn't. Because 2 weeks later, the police came to my office. There were documents, bank statements, emails mentioning my name, discussing payments and overseas transfers, statements from 3 suppliers swearing that I had demanded cash payments in exchange for contracts. "These people are lying," I said. The chief of police, a woman with steel gray hair, looked almost sad. "Ms. Ashford, we have 12 months of evidence, your accounts, your emails, your signature." None of it is true. Then you'll have the chance to prove it in court. They arrested me in my own building. They paraded me in handcuffs past employees who had known me for years. They paraded me past the security guard who always smiled and called me Ms. Alina. They paraded me through the lobby where my father's portrait hung on the wall, his eyes watching me as I was put into the federal police car. Sophia cried at the hearing. Daniel didn't come. Marcus sat quietly in the back row. The trial lasted 6 weeks. My lawyer was good. He dismantled the prosecution's timeline, questioned the authenticity of the signatures, and suggested that someone within the company had conspired against me. The evidence kept coming. A former assistant testified that I had asked her to prepare fake invoices. A banker from Grand Cayman said I had personally opened an account and showed video footage of a woman of the same height and hair color as me signing the documents. "That's not me," I said. "She looks like you," my lawyer murmured. The jury deliberated for 8 hours. I was found guilty on all charges: embezzlement, fraud, money laundering. The judge sentenced me to 10 years in prison. There, with my legs numb, I stood and looked at my siblings. Marcus's face was like stone, Daniel was grinning, and Sophia. Sophia was crying. "I'm sorry," she mouthed. That's when I understood. I didn't suspect anything. I never cried. I didn't cry when they handcuffed me. I didn't cry when they took me to the holding cell. I didn't cry during the 3-hour bus ride to Danbury Federal Prison. Then I cried, in my cell. I buried my face in the pillow, which carried the scent of industrial laundry detergent and the despair of other women. I cried for 3 days. Then I stopped. Because crying wouldn't get me out of here. Crying wouldn't give me my company back. Crying wouldn't make my brothers pay for what they did. Instead, I learned. Danbury wasn't a maximum security prison. It was actually minimum security. White-collar criminals, tax evaders, small-time con artists, and an ex-investment banker named Margaret Chen. He was 71 years old. He had been sentenced to 8 years in prison for insider trading. He had made $40 million before the SEC caught him, and every morning around 6 o'clock, he would walk around the prison yard as if he were taking a stroll in Central Park. I noticed him in the 2nd week. He noticed me in the 3rd week. "You're a textile heir," he said. He didn't ask, he knew. I was. "You didn't do it." I looked at him. "How do you know?" "Because guilty people don't look like that." He pointed at my face. "They look defeated. You look angry." "I am angry." "Good," he smiled. "Anger is useful. Let me teach you how to use it." Over the next 9 years, Margaret taught me everything. Finance, real finance. Not the superficial accounting I learned in business school, but the deep mechanisms of money, how markets move, how to read economic models, where to store assets, how to build wealth from scratch. "Money," she said, "is just a language. If you learn to speak it fluently, you can say anything." We worked in the library during break times. After the lights went out in our cells, whispering formulas and strategies. He taught me derivatives, arbitrage, cryptocurrency before the crash, offshore investments that are actually legal. "When you get out," Margaret said one night, 2 years before her own release date, "you'll need capital." "I don't have any." "You will." She handed me a piece of paper. It had a 16-digit account number, a password, and the name of a bank in Switzerland. Margaret. I'm dying. She said it very matter-of-factly. Pancreatic cancer. 6 months, maybe less. I have no children. I have no family. And there's $7 million in that account that I deposited before the SEC found me. I can't. You can. Her thin, age-spotted hand squeezed mine. Wealth is for free spirits, Alina, not for old women rotting in prison. Take this. Build something. And when you're strong enough, burn everyone who put you here to ashes. 3 months later, she died. The cancer progressed rapidly. Within 10 weeks, she went from walking in the garden to being in the infirmary and then dying. On her last day, I held her hand. She could barely speak. Promise me, she whispered. I promise. Burn them. I will. He smiled. He closed his eyes. And then she died. I mourned her. I truly mourned her. This woman who owed me nothing but gave me everything. Then I went back to work. Over the next 18 months, I developed the plan. Every detail, every move. I read Forbes. I read the Wall Street Journal. I read Bloomberg. I followed Ashford Textiles from prison. I watched Marcus take over as CEO. I watched the stock prices rise. I watched my family grow rich in the empire my father had built. The empire they stole from me. The day I left Danbury, I had $7 million in Switzerland, a new identity, and a decade's worth of pent-up anger. I took the bus to New York. I checked into a hotel under a false name. I got a short haircut, a sharp bob that bore no resemblance to the woman in my old photos. I dyed my hair a darker shade. I lost 10 pounds. I gained it back through muscle. A stranger stared back at me in the mirror. Perfect. I became Maya Winters. Financial advisor. No criminal record. Spotless references, all fake, but good enough to get through the initial screening. I opened the account in Switzerland from a computer in the library. I entered the numbers Margaret gave me. Balance, $7,247,000. Sitting there staring at the screen, my heart was pounding. Thank you, Margaret, I whispered. Then I got to work. First move, cryptocurrency. Bitcoin was worth $6,000. I bought 200 coins. 18 months later, I sold them for $19,000. Profit, $2.6 million. Second move, pharmaceutical stocks. A small biotech company developing cancer treatments. Their drugs were in phase 3 trials. I bought 50,000 shares at $12. $6 months later, FDA approval came through. The stock jumped to $87. Profit, $3.75 million. Third move, real estate. Foreclosed properties in Brooklyn. I bought 4 buildings for a total of $800,000. I renovated them. I sold 2. I kept 2 as rentals. Profit, $1.9 million from sales, PL. Us $15,000 monthly rental income. I earned $18 million in 3 years. Within 5 years, $45 million. And this was just the beginning. Because Ashford Textiles was now worth $520 million. Marcus had expanded into South America. Sophia was managing European operations. My sweet little sister had become famous for her corner office and her reputation as a visionary. Daniel was the vice president of marketing. This meant he seemed to be hosting parties and working. I watched them from the shadows. I studied every move they made. Marcus was smart. Cold, calculating, but smart. He had used my father's connections, streamlined production, and reduced costs without compromising quality. Under normal circumstances, I would have respected him. But he helped destroy me. Sophia was even worse, because she pretended to care. She hugged me, she cried for me, all while leaking information to the prosecution. I later found proof, an email leaked from the trial, sent from her personal account. What about Daniel? Daniel was a greedy man wearing a $5,000 suit. In the 7th year, I had $89 million. In the 9th year, $127 million. I hired private detectives. They found everything. Marcus's relationships, 3 of them all with his subordinates. His wife knew nothing about it. Sophia's embezzlement, small amounts, carefully hidden, but it was there. She learned from the best, by setting me up. Daniel's gambling debts. He owed $3 million to people who wouldn't accept payment plans. I gathered it all, every secret, every lie, every weakness. And then I acted. Ashford Textiles was going public. Marcus wanted to expand into Asia, and he needed capital. He told shareholders that the IPO would raise $200 million. I went to the investor meeting. Not as Alina Ashford. As Maya Winters, I represent Winters Capital Group, my front company, backed by very real assets worth $150 million. Marcus didn't recognize me. Sophia didn't recognize me either. Daniel was too drunk to notice anyone. Ms. Winters, Marcus said, shaking my hand, "Thank you for your interest." His hand was cold, just as I remembered it. I smiled. "Mr. Ashford," I said, "I think we'll achieve great things together." He had no idea. None of them did. But they were about to find out exactly who Maya Winters was. And more importantly, who she used to be. Marcus wanted to meet for breakfast. Plaza, 8 a.m., 3 days after the investor presentation. I arrived 15 minutes early. I ordered black coffee. I watched the entrance. At 8:02 a.m., he walked in, phone pressed to his ear, wearing a sharp, dark gray suit. He was now 45 years old. His temples were graying. He still had his father's square jaw, but none of his warmth. He sat down, without apologizing for the phone call. "Ms. Winters." He finally hung up the phone. He extended his hand again. I shook his hand. It was a firm handshake, performative. "Mr. Ashford." I reviewed your portfolio. He opened his tablet. Winters Capital, impressive growth. Pharmaceutical investments, real estate, early adoption of some cryptocurrencies. I see opportunities. Clearly, he swiped the page. However, I noticed your company is relatively new, only 9 years old. 9 years, not 10. I had founded Winters Capital in my first year of prison, using a lawyer and forged documents. I built it slowly from inside the prison, planning every move so Margaret's money would do the work. I prefer to build things carefully, I said. And now, you want to build something with Ashford Textiles. I want to invest in a well-established company with growth potential. I sipped my coffee. I waited for the silence to linger. Marcus studied me. His pale gray, calculating eyes roamed over my face as if solving an equation. Did he see her, Alina, his sister? There was no sign that he recognized her. "We select our investors carefully," he said. "As you should be." The IPO will bring in $200 million. We don't need outside capital from boutique firms. Boutique, the word sounded like an insult. Then why did you attend the meeting? I asked. He smiled slightly. Curiosity, your presentation, was impressive. I'm doing my research. Clearly, he leaned back. What do you know about textile production, Ms. Winters? Everything. I grew up in factories. I knew the number of threads, the dyeing processes, and the export regulations better than my own name. But Maya Winters didn't know that. Enough to recognize assets that are undervalued, I said. Expanding into South America is smart. Labor costs are favorable, but you've expanded too much in Brazil. The political instability there puts your factories at risk. Her expression didn't change, but she tapped her finger on the table once. I had surprised him. We've mitigated those risks, she said. Really? Because your insurance coverage in Sao Paulo is insufficient for the facility's actual value, and your local manager is embezzling small amounts of money on a regular basis. Now his eyes sharpened. How do you know that? I told you, I do my research. The waiter brought his coffee. Marcus ignored him. What do you want? He asked. A seat at the table, 15% equity, a board seat. That's very aggressive. That's a fair market value for $78 million. He blinked once. We're looking for a total of $200 million. 15% is $30 million. You're asking for $200 million at the current valuation. I'm offering $78 million for 15% of a company that I believe is worth $520 million, not the $400 million you claim it's worth. A silence. Marcus took his coffee, he took a sip, he set it down. You've done more than just research, he said quietly. I've done enough research. I'll need to discuss this with my brothers. Of course, I stood up, I extended my hand. Thank you for your time, Mr. Ashford. He shook my hand, he held it for a second longer. Ms. Winters, he said, have we met before? My heart stopped. But my expression didn't change. I don't think so, I said. I would remember. He let go of my hand. I walked out of the plaza, my legs steady, my breathing controlled. I didn't look back. I got into a taxi 2 blocks away. Then I let myself tremble. Had we met before? He had sensed something, an echo. In my voice, my eyes, or the way I held the coffee cup, the ghost of his sister. I needed to be more careful. But I couldn't stop now. Because this was just the beginning, entering Ashford Textiles, getting close to them. The real work had begun 9 years earlier. When I was still Elena. The first time I became Maya. Let me tell you about those early years, because they weren't easy, and I want you to fully understand how much effort it took to build myself up from scratch. The first year, I had $7 million and a new beginning. I also had no credit history, no work history, no educational documents matching my fake identity. Maya Winters was someone who existed on paper, but the financial world doesn't trust paper. They trust family lineage. That first year, I applied to 12 investment firms. I sent my resumes. I attended networking events. I smiled at the men in expensive suits who looked at me like I was a piece of furniture. Do you have an MBA? They asked. No, but I have. A master's degree is required. There are gaps in your employment history. I was working as an independent consultant. We prefer corporate experience. This is a male-dominated field, Ms. Winters. Are you sure you'd be more comfortable in human resources or marketing? The last one came from a Goldman Sachs hiring specialist. He said it with a sympathetic smile. I wanted to throw my coffee in her face. Instead, I smiled back. I'm comfortable anywhere I can make money, I said. He never called me again. I stopped asking for permission. I took Margaret's $7 million and started my own company, Winters Capital Group, registered in Delaware. An office in a shared workspace in Manhattan, $400 a month for a desk and a mailbox. No employees, no partners, just me and a laptop. And I started hunting. Bitcoin was my first target, $6,000 per coin. Everyone said it was a bubble, a scam, the tulip mania of the digital age. Still, I bought 200 coins. Why? Because I had learned to read the patterns while serving 10 years in prison. And the patterns said, this is the future of money, decentralized, unregulated, perfect for people who don't trust institutions. For people like me. 18 months later, Bitcoin reached $19,000. I sold. Profit, $2.6 million. Suddenly, Winters Capital had $9.6 million in assets. Still, no one took me seriously. I proposed a hedge fund focused on pharmaceutical investments. They laughed. You have no expertise in medicine. I have market expertise, and I can read FDA reports. Come back when you have a successful track record. So I created a successful track record. I found a small biotech company in San Diego. They were developing an immunotherapy drug for pancreatic cancer. They had phase 3 trials. The results would be announced in 6 months. I thought of Margaret, her stained hands. The moment she whispered, "Burn them." I bought 50,000 shares at $12 each. It was like gambling. If the trials failed, I would lose $600,000. But the trials didn't fail. FDA approval came through. The stock jumped to $87 in 2 days. I sold 40,000 shares. I kept 10,000 shares. Profit, immediately $3 million. Another $750,000 the following year. Winters Capital, $13.4 million. Now people were answering my calls. Ms. Winters, we saw your move in the pharmaceutical industry. It's very impressive. Would you like to join our next fund? We're organizing a symposium in Zurich. We'd like to have you as a speaker. I said yes to all of them. Not because I wanted their approval. I needed visibility. Marcus needed to hear about Maya Winters. He needed to see my name on Bloomberg. He needed to wonder who this aggressive new investor was. That's why I made my voice heard. Next up was real estate. Brooklyn was rapidly gentrifying. I bought 4 buildings sold through foreclosure, each for $200,000. I renovated them, spending $150,000 per building on improvements. I sold 2 for $900,000. I kept 2 as rentals. Monthly income, $15,000, passive. By the 3rd year, I had $18 million. By the 5th year, I had $45 million. And I was exhausted. Not physically, mentally. Because every day I wore Maya's face, Maya's voice, Maya's careful smile. Every day, I acted as if I hadn't spent 10 years in prison for crimes I didn't commit. Every day I saw my father's face in my dreams. I heard Sophia's voice. I'm sorry. The anger never faded. It only grew stronger, sharper. It turned into something cold and definitive. In the 6th year, I hired detectives. 3 of them, the best. Find everything, I said. Every secret, every lie, every weakness. They found a lot. First, Marcus. He had a relationship with his assistant. She was 26, blonde, ambitious. He had promised her the position of vice president. Instead, he gave the position to someone else and transferred her to the Miami office. The woman was angry. She had saved the emails, messages, and photos. My investigator bought them for $50,000. I kept them in a locked safe. Next was Daniel. Gambling addiction, casinos in Atlantic City and Vegas. He owed $3.2 million to private credit institutions, the kind that send men with crowbars when payments are late. He had taken out loans from the company, secretly, $800,000 over 2 years using fake consulting contracts. Marcus didn't know, or pretended not to know. I got copies of everything. Sophia was more difficult. Because Sophia was careful. She had learned her lesson by setting me up. She covered her tracks. She used encrypted emails and offshore accounts. But everyone makes mistakes. And Sophia's mistake was trusting her assistant too much. Her assistant, a woman named Claire, had been working with Sophia for 4 years. Loyal, cautious. Until Sophia fired her for taking sick leave during an important meeting. Claire was furious. My researcher approached her at a cafe. I understand that Ms. Ashford treated you unfairly, he said. Claire laughed bitterly. That's putting it mildly. Would you like to talk? It will remain confidential. They talked for 3 hours. Sophia was embezzling money. Small amounts, $20,000, $35,000, were transferred through fake vendor contracts. Over 6 years, she had stolen $890,000. She was also leaking information to a competitor. Industrial espionage. Ashford was selling designs to a Chinese textile manufacturer for $50,000 per deal. Claire had evidence, emails, bank statements. I paid her $100,000 for everything. Now I had leverage. But I couldn't use it yet. Because I didn't just want to destroy them. I wanted them to know what I had done. I wanted them to see Alina's face before everything they stole was destroyed. Older, tougher, victorious. So I waited. I grew my fortune even more. In the 7th year, $89 million. In the 9th year, $127 million. And then Ashford Textiles announced its IPO. Perfect timing. I carefully crafted Winters Capital's profile. I made sure Bloomberg reported on my successes in the pharmaceutical sector. I gave an interview to Forbes about revolutionary investment strategies. I was certain Marcus would hear the name Maya Winters. And he did. Investor presentation, breakfast meeting. I was now on the inside. Almost. A week after the breakfast at the plaza, I received an invitation. Ashford Textiles' annual gala. Investors, board members, key clients. A black tie, met. Marcus thought you'd like to attend, his assistant said on the phone. Get to know the company culture. Gladly, I said. I bought an evening gown, black, elegant, high-necked. It wasn't like the dresses Alina wore. I had my hair cut shorter, sharper. I practiced Maya's smile in the mirror. Soft, sincere, nothing like Alina's confident smirk. The gala was magnificent. Ice sculptures, champagne towers, a string quartet playing Vivaldi. 200 people, dressed in diamonds and silk, were celebrating the empire my father had built. The empire they had stolen from me. I entered alone. I surveyed the room. Marcus was standing by the bar, talking to the board members. His wife, a slender woman with perfect posture, was smiling beside him. Daniel was by the buffet, already drunk, laughing loudly at his own jokes. And Sophia. Sophia stood in the middle of the room, surrounded by her admirers. She wore an emerald green dress. Her hair was long, styled in soft waves. She looked elegant, confident. She bore no resemblance to the frightened 23-year-old girl who had cried during my trial. She had grown accustomed to her lies. I took a breath. I walked toward the bar. Marcus saw me first. "Ms. Winters," he motioned for me to come over. "I'm glad you came. Thank you for inviting me." He introduced me to 3 board members. I shook hands with them. We had a brief conversation. Then Sophia approached. My heart was pounding in my chest. "Marcus," she said. Her voice was soft, melodic, just as I remembered. "Will you introduce me?" He turned. "Sophia, this is Maya Winters, a potential investor. Maya, this is my sister Sophia. She manages our European operations." Sophia extended her hand. I took her hand. Her skin was soft, warm. She wore a perfume scented with jasmine and vanilla. The same perfume she used at my hearing. "Nice to meet you," she said. Our eyes met. Did she see me, her sister, the woman she helped kill? No. He just smiled. "I've heard wonderful things about Winter's capital. Marcus says you're very impressive." "I'm doing my best," I said. "We need more women in the financial sector. It's like a boys' club here, isn't it?" This ironic situation was almost suffocating me. "Maybe," I said carefully. "You have to tell me your secret. How can a woman succeed in this industry?" "By spending 10 years in prison and learning to eliminate people like you." "Perseverance," I said instead, "and knowing your own worth." She smiled slightly easily. "I like that determination." He shook my hand and let go. "I hope we can work together," he said. Then he walked away. I stood there, my hand still warm from the warmth of his hand. Sophia Ashford. My little sister. The person I trust. He didn't know who I was. She didn't know that I had touched her with the hands that had been planning her disappearance for 9 years. I took a champagne glass from a passing waiter. I took a sip. I watched him move through the crowd, smile, be charming, play the role of visionary leader. Daniel stumbled an hour later. "Who are you?" he mumbled. "Maya Winters." "Are you an investor?" Potentially." "Great, we need money. Marcus is very stingy." He downed his drink in one gulp. "Are you married?" No." "Good, maybe we." "Daniel." Marcus appeared and grabbed his brother's shoulder firmly. "Go get some coffee." Daniel muttered and walked away. Marcus looked at me. "I'm sorry." "No need." He is struggling. With what? Spending his father's money fast enough. Family matters are complicated, I said. True, something flashed in Marcus's eyes. Sadness, regret. No, I was imagining things. Marcus felt no regret about anything. I'll get in touch with you about your investment offer, he said. I'm looking forward to it. An hour later, I left the galas. I took a taxi home to the penthouse apartment in Soho I'd bought 2 years ago. $8 million. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Now I was standing in front of those windows, still wearing my dress, a glass of champagne in my hand. New York shimmered below. Somewhere within that glow, my siblings were sleeping peacefully. But it wouldn't last long. I opened my laptop. I drafted an email to Marcus. Formal, professional. Following our meeting, I would like to present a revised offer. $95 million for an 18% stake and 2 board seats. This values Ashford Textiles at $528 million and provides the capital you need to expand into Asia. The detailed prospectus is attached. I believe we can build something extraordinary together. Best regards, Maya Winters. I pressed the send button. Then I poured myself a little more champagne. I raised my glass to the window. To Margaret, who provided the tools. To my father, who deserved better. To Alina Ashford, who died so Maya Winters could burn everything down. It's almost over, I whispered. My phone rang. Marcus. The offer has been made. Let's talk tomorrow, at 10 a.m. in my office. I smiled. Tomorrow, I would be going to Ashford Textiles. Not as a prisoner. Not as a victim. As an investor. As someone they needed. And yet they still wouldn't know. But soon. Very soon. When they put me in prison, they would fully understand what they had created. They would understand that some things, some people, cannot be broken. They grow. Marcus's office was on the 43rd floor. Ceiling-high windows, a mahogany desk, my father's old office. I had been here thousands of times as Alina. Now I was sitting across from Marcus as a stranger. Your offer is aggressive, he said. Your company's value is low. I slid a file across his desk. Page 3, your factory in Brazil is operating at 67% capacity. Page 7, Sophia's department is showing inflated revenue. It's counting pre-orders as completed sales. His jaw tightened. Where did you get this information? I'm a meticulous person. He read it, he tapped the table with his finger. Tap, tap, tap. My father used to do that too. Even if that's true, Marcus said, 18% is too much. Then make a counteroffer. 12%, 1 board seat. 15%, 2 seats. The silence dragged on. Why Ashford? He asked. You could have invested anywhere. Because you ruined my life. Companies with strong foundati. Ons, I said, your father built something extraordinary. Something flashed across his face. It was. 15%, he finally said. 2 board seats, quarterly reporting to me. Agreed. We shook hands. Welcome to Ashford Textiles, Ms. Winters. The first board meeting took place 3 weeks later. There were 10 people. Marcus was in charge. Sophia arrived late. I'm sorry, she smiled at me. Maya, it's so good to see you. I kept my face expressionless. During lunch break, Sophia cornered me. You're impressive. We should have lunch, just the 2 of us. I'd love to. A Thursday. A great. Thursday came, a French bistro in Midtown. Sophia was wearing a cream-colored silk dress. She had diamond earrings on. "I'm so glad we did this," she said. "Being the only woman in that meeting room was exhausting." "I can imagine." "Where did you grow up?" "California, the Bay Area." "Your family?" "Just me and my mom. She passed away." Sophia touched my hand. "I'm so sorry." She was very good at this. "What about you?" I asked. Her smile faded. "It's complicated. We lost our sister years ago." My breath caught. "You lost her." "She went to prison for embezzlement, 10 years. Sophia's voice trailed off. "Elena, she was my best friend. I trusted her completely. Then we found out she had stolen. It broke my heart." I wanted to scream. "That must have been so painful," I said. "It was, but we got through it." She wiped her eyes. "Every day I try to honor our father's legacy." I'm sure he would have been proud. We finished lunch. She hugged me outside. "I'm so happy you're part of Ashford," she said. "I think we'll be great friends." That night, I met with my researcher, Thomas. "Daniel first," I said. "He's the easiest." Thomas handed me a file. He owes $3.2 million to the Russians. Can we buy his debt? We already did, for $2 million. Good, let him sweat. We'll get in touch later. What about Marcus? His connection, his assistant in Miami. Keep him in the loop. Monthly payments, $5,000. Got it. What about Sophia? I paused. Her embezzlement case. Can we track it? Yes, but she's careful. There's something else. Thomas pulled out another file. Sophia hired a private investigator. She's looking into your past. A pain gripped my stomach. What did she find? What we planted. Stanford MBA, clean record, but, he hesitated. She's persistent. Speed up the timeline, I said. Daniel first, next week. I took action at the next board meeting. I have concerns about the expansion in Brazil, I said. Marcus looked up. What concerns? We're losing money. I suggest we audit the facility. That will delay our timeline, Sophia said. Better than losing $15 million. I pushed a report across the table. Your local manager embezzled $400,000. A silence. How did you find out? Marcus asked quietly. Independent auditor, due diligence. Without consulting me. I'm a board member. It's my responsibility. The tension escalated. Let's discuss this privately, said Marcus. I'd prefer to discuss it now. Sophia's voice was soft. Maybe Marcus is right. I looked at him. He looked at me. Calculation, doubt. Of course, I said. I'm sorry. After the meeting, Marcus pulled me aside. You're upsetting people. I'm doing my job. You've been here for 2 months. That's long enough to see the problems you've been covering up. His face turned cold. Be careful, Ms. Winters. I invested $95 million. I have the right to ask questions. We looked at each other. You remind me of someone, Marcus said quietly. My sister Elena. She argued like that too. My heart stopped. What happened to her? She betrayed us. She went to prison. She was released 3 years ago, he refocused. We haven't heard from her since then. 3 years ago. He didn't know I'd been out for 10 years. I'm sorry, I said. Don't be. He made his own choice. That night I called Thomas. Daniel, tomorrow, do it. 24 hours later, 2 men visited Daniel. Mr. Ashford, we need to talk about your debt. The owner of that debt is now Ms. Maya Winters. We met at a bar. Daniel looked terrible. He was sweating, he was trembling. Did you buy my debt? Yes. Why? You're going to sell me your Ashford shares, 8%, for $30 million. That's less than market value. It's more than you'll get when the Russians break your legs. He swallowed hard. Marcus will kill me. Marcus won't know. It's a front company. By the time he figures it out, it'll be too late. I can't do it. 24 hours. After that, the offer expires. He called 6 hours later. I'll do it. The paperwork took a week. Daniel signed the contract with trembling hands. 23% of Ashford Textiles is now mine. When the file was made public, Marcus called immediately. What the hell did you do? I made an investment. You bought Daniel's shares. I bought the shares. He's my brother. He's a burden. You should thank me. Silence, then. You're playing a dangerous game. So are you, Mr. Ashford. I hung up the phone. Sophia called 10 minutes later. We need to talk. Her apartment, Upper East Side, minimalist. She didn't offer wine. Who are you? She asked. You know who I am. No, something's wrong, something. She came closer. Familiar. My heart was racing. Have we met before, Ashford? No. Are you sure? Because there's something in your eyes. He reached out his hand. He was almost touching my face. My face is an ordinary face, I said. No, it's not. His hand dropped. Who sent you? A rival. No one sent me. Then why are you targeting us? Daniel's shares, control, you're trying to take over. I'm trying to save a company that's going under. We're not going under. You're losing millions of dollars. He looked at him, then he laughed coldly. You're good, very good, but I'll find out who you really are, and when I do, I'll destroy you just like I did. He paused. Just like you did, Sophia. Her eyes widened. I didn't tell you my name. Oh my God. You did, at the gala. No, I introduced myself as Mrs. Ashford. My mind started racing. She was right. Marcus must have told you. He didn't believe it. He approached, a few inches away, searching. Who are you? He whispered. I could have told him right away. But not yet. I'm Maya Winters, and you need to back off. I left there. I got into my car. I drove 3 blocks. I pulled over and started shaking. He realized something was wrong. I called Thomas. Marcus, now post everything. Are you sure? Do it tonight. 6 hours later, Marcus's affair was all over the news. Industry blogs, finance websites, photos, emails. His wife filed for divorce the next morning. The board of directors called an emergency meeting. Marcus looked like he had aged 10 years. This was your fault, he said. No, it was you. You leaked my information. Your assistant did it. Angry people talk, Marcus. Sophia was sitting in the corner. She was watching. She always watched. The meeting was very tense. 3 board members demanded Marcus's resignation. I abstained. They decided to keep him, barely. But his power was broken. Now everyone knew who held the cards. Me. After the meeting, I stood in front of my father's portrait. "I'm winning, Dad," I whispered. My phone rang. "Sophia, I know who you are." My blood ran cold. Another message. "Tomorrow, 10 a.m. the plaza. Come alone or I'll go to Marcus." I looked at the message. Then I wrote, "See you there." Tomorrow everything would change. Tomorrow, Sophia would learn the truth. And finally, I would see the expression on her face when she realized her dead sister was alive. And she would learn everything. At 10 o'clock, the plaza was quiet, very quiet. I arrived early. I chose a table in the corner. I ordered coffee, but I wouldn't drink it. My hands were shaking. They shouldn't have been. 10 years. I had planned for this moment for 10 years. Sophia walked in at 10:03. She was dressed in black, a sharp blazer. Her hair was pulled back. She wasn't smiling. She sat down without greeting me. "I know," he said. "What do I know?" "Who you are." His voice was flat, cold. "I figured it out last night." My heart was racing, but my face showed no emotion. "You need to be more specific." He leaned forward. "The way you say my name, the way you hold your coffee cup, the way you argue." His eyes locked onto mine. "When you get angry, you tilt your head, always to the left, just like he does." A silence. "Like who, Sophia?" "Like Elena." That name hung between us. I could have denied it, I could have laughed it off, I could have walked away. But I was tired of hiding. I set down my coffee, I leaned back, I dropped the mask. When I spoke, my voice was different, sharper. Maya's careful politeness was gone. "It took too long," I said. Her face went pale. "No, you're dead." "Am I dead?" With a cold smile. "I was in prison for 10 years for the crimes you helped commit." "That's impossible. Elena was released 3 years ago. We checked." "You checked what Marcus told you to check. He lied, or he didn't know. I got out 10 years ago, Sophia, and I've been building this every day since that day." She was trembling now. "This can't be real." "It's very real." I leaned forward. "Did you really think I'd just disappear, pay the price for your lies and disappear?" You. Broken, destroyed?" I laughed. "I was for about 3 days, then I got angry, and anger, little brother, is fuel." His eyes filled with tears. "Elena." "Don't." My voice became as sharp as glass. "You can't use that name. You lost that right by informing the prosecutor's office. When you cried while wearing a listening device at my trial. When you helped them destroy me. I had no other choice. Everyone has a choice." Marcus said. "Marcus manipulated you. I know, you were 23, you were young, you were foolish. But you made the choice, Sophia. You chose the company over me. You chose money over your sister." Now she was crying. "I'm sorry. God, Elena, I'm so sorry." "Are you sorry?" The word tasted like poison. "Are you sorry? Do you know what prison does to you? Do you know what it's like to spend 10 years in a cage when you're innocent?" Please." I imagined this every night, watching the expression on your face when you realized. And you know what? It was even more beautiful than I imagined. He suddenly stood up. "I'm going to Marcus." "Go ahead." "I'll tell him everything." "Please tell him. Tell him that Maya Winters is actually Elena Ashford. Tell him that his dead sister is alive and owns 23% of the company. Tell him that she systematically destroyed you and everyone else from the inside." I smiled. "Let's see what happens." He looked at me. You have no proof, he said. No, I pulled out my phone. I opened a folder. I swiped it across the table. He stared, his hands trembling. Bank statements, overseas accounts, transfers to Chinese manufacturers, emails discussing stolen designs. Where did you get these? I told you I'm meticulous. 6 years of embezzlement, Sophia, nearly $900,000, and industrial espionage. That's at least 20 years. The blood drained from her face. You can't. I can, I will, of course. Unless what? If you do everything I told you to do. He slumped back into his chair. What do you want? Everything, but we'll start with small steps. I leaned forward. At tomorrow's board meeting, you'll vote with me, against Marcus, on every proposal I make. He'll realize something's wrong. Let him wonder. Elena. My name is Maya. You will address me as Maya. You will treat me like an investor, and you will smile while doing it. What if I don't? I stood up. I left the money on the table. Then these documents go to the SEC, and you'll get the 10-year prison sentence I received, but you deserve it. I walked away. I left him sitting there. He covered his face with his hands. It felt good. I felt like justice had been served. The next board meeting was the following day. I was the first to arrive. I sat in my usual seat. Marcus arrived, his face tense. The scandal had aged him. His wife had filed for divorce. 2 board members wanted him to resign. He looked broken. Almost. Sophia was the last to arrive. Her eyes were red. She didn't look at me. Let's begin, said Marcus. The meeting began normally. Financial reports, production updates. Then I took action. I want a vote, I said, to remove Marcus Ashford from his position as CEO. The room fell silent. Marcus's face turned to stone. On what grounds? Mismanagement, the loss at the Brazil facility, the relationship that damaged our reputation, your inability to control operational costs. This is nonsense. I own 23% of the shares. I demand a vote. According to the company's articles of association, this is my right. The board members looked at each other. I support the motion, Sophia said quietly. Everyone turned to her. Marcus's face turned pale. Sophia, what are you doing? What I should have done years ago. Her voice was hollow. Protect this company. Are you voting against me? Yes. Marcus looked around the table. He was searching for his allies. But this incident had destroyed his support. Financial losses had shaken confidence. Who supports removing Marcus Ashford from his position as CEO? Asked the board secretary. 7 hands went up, including Sophia's. Those opposed. 3 hands, including Marcus's. The motion is carried. Marcus slowly stood up. His hands gripped the table. You're all making a mistake, he said. The only mistake, I said, was trusting you in the first place. He looked at me. He really looked at me. And I saw it, the moment of recognition. Elena, he whispered. I smiled. Hello, Marcus. His face fell. This is impossible. Apparently not. You. Dead, gone, vanished? I stood up. You sentenced me to 10 years in prison. Did you really think I wouldn't come back? The other board members were stunned. They were whispering. Elena Ashford, one of them said, but She went to prison for embezzlement, I finished. But I didn't do it, they did. I pointed at Marcus, at Sophia. They set me up, they forged documents, they bought off witnesses. They put me in prison so they could steal my inheritance. That's a lie, Marcus said. Is that so? I pulled out a thick file. I have proof, it's all here. Fake bank accounts opened in my name, forged signatures, examined by 3 independent experts, payments made to witnesses, everything. I slid the copies across the table. There's also evidence of Marcus's connections, misuse of company funds, Sophia embezzling money and engaging in industrial espionage. Sophia let out a small sound, as if something were dying. You're both guilty, I said, and I'll get back what you stole. Marcus attacked me. Security stopped him. You can't do this, he shouted. This company is mine. No, I said quietly. It was my father's, he left it to me, and I'm taking it back. They took Marcus outside. He resisted, he shouted, he made threats. I watched him leave. I felt only a cold sense of satisfaction. The board voted again, this time unanimously. CEO, Elena Ashford, formerly known as Maya Winters. An hour later, I entered my father's office, my office. I sat in his chair. I looked out over the city. 43rd floor, master of everything I could see. Next was Daniel. After selling his shares, he had disappeared. He was now hiding from the Russians who weren't collecting their debt. He was hiding from me. I found him in Atlantic City, in a cheap hotel. He was drunk. I knocked on his door at midnight. He opened the door with bloodshot eyes. Maya. Not exactly. It took longer to recognize him. He was always slow. Elena, she squinted her eyes, but you. I'm alive, I'm angry, and I'm done with you. What do you want? Nothing, you're insignificant, you always have been. I handed him an envelope. A plane ticket, one way to Los Angeles. There's $50,000 in cash. That's all you're getting, that's it. This. If you go back to New York, I'll have you arrested for embezzlement. You stole $800,000 from the company. I have proof. His face paled. I'll tell people who you are. Go ahead, tell them Elena Ashford rose from the dead to reclaim her empire. See if anyone cares. I stepped closer to him. You're nothing, Daniel. You always were nothing. And now everyone will know it. I left him there. In his cheap hotel. With his cheap vodka. Broken. Sophia was harder. Because a part of me still loved her. My little sister, who used to follow me everywhere. Sitting in my office asking questions about fabrics and work. Before the lies, before the betrayal. A week after Marcus left, she came to my office. What are you going to do? She asked. With you. Yes. I thought I could report you, SEC, FBI, at least 20 years. He shook his head. I know. Lore. You resign immediately. You sell your shares to me at market value. You leave New York and you never come back. Is that all? No, you'll also sign a confession, everything you did, conspiracy, embezzlement, everything. And will you keep it? Forever, like a sword hanging over your head. If you come back, if you try to harm me again, I'll publish it. Tears streamed from her eyes. I didn't want this to happen. Yes, I did. You chose this, Sophia. every step of the way. I was young. So was I. I was 28. I had my whole life ahead of me, and you took it away from me. I'm sorry. I know, but your apology won't bring back the past 10 years. He signed everything. He resigned. He sold his shares. He left New York on Tuesday morning. I watched him leave from the office window. I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no relief. Where my sister used to be, there was only emptiness. Marcus fought harder. Lawsuits, court rulings, media campaigns. He went on CNBC. He told everyone I was a fraud, a criminal, a liar. I let him speak. Then I explained everything. Every document, every email, every piece of evidence. The truth spread like wildfire. Marcus Ashford, CEO of Ashford Textiles, had set his own sister up. He had sentenced her to 10 years in prison. He had stolen her inheritance. The board of directors had completely turned their backs on him. Shareholders demanded answers. The SEC launched an investigation. And Marcus, the clever, cold, calculating Marcus, collapsed. His wife took everything in the divorce. His reputation was destroyed. He lost his board seat. He lost his position. He lost his honor. Last I heard, he was living in a studio apartment in Queens. He was working as a consultant. He was making $60,000 a year. About as much as he stole from me. 6 months after taking control, I stood in front of my father's portrait. The portrait was now hanging in my office, in a place where I could see it every day. "I did it, Dad," I whispered. "I got it all back, everything." I imagined him smiling. Proud. The company was now mine, completely. I had restructured everything. I had eliminated unnecessary burdens. I had solved the Brazil problem. I had expanded into Asia properly. Within a year, Ashford Textiles' value reached $680 million. Within 2 years, $840 million. I changed its name to Ashford Winters Industries. It's a hybrid, Elena and Maya. Both are a part of me. A broken woman. And the woman rebuilding herself. I went to the cemetery on Saturday morning. My father's grave was simple. Gray stone, his name, dates of birth and death. Henry Ashford, beloved father, 1943–2008. I knelt on the grass. I left the flowers. "I wish you could have seen this," I said. "I wish you could have seen what I've done. I wish you could have seen who I've become." The wind rustled through the trees. Somewhere a bird was singing. I'm not the same anymore. Prison changed me. It made me harder, colder. I touched the stone. But I'm still your daughter. I'm still Elena. Finally, tears began to flow. Not for my friends, not for victory. For him, for my father who believed in me, for my father who loved me. For my father who died without ever knowing I was innocent. "I hope you're proud," I whispered. The wind blew again. And I chose to believe that was his answer. Now I visit his grave once a month. I tell him about the company, about new contracts and expansion plans, about the woman I've become. Sometimes I talk about Maya, the identity I created, the person who saved me. "She's still here," I say. "She's a part of me, my strong part, the part that survived." Because that's the truth. I'm not just Elena anymore. I'm not just Maya either. I am both. I am united. I am stronger than I was alone. The woman who was destroyed. and the woman reborn from her ashes. Last month, I established a foundation, the Alina Ashford Second Chance Fund, for people released from prison, for people who need help rebuilding their lives, for people like me. We provide capital, education, support. Because in those 10 years, I learned something. Wealth isn't just about money. It is freedom, it is power, it is the ability to choose your own path. And everyone deserves a second chance, even those who have been erased by the world. Sometimes I think about my brothers. Daniel, who lives in Los Angeles, he's probably killing himself with alcohol. Sophia is somewhere far away, living with guilt. Marcus is in his studio apartment, suffering, broken. A part of me feels sorry for them. A small part of me. But mostly, I feel nothing. They made their own choices. They lived with lies. And now they are facing the consequences. As it should be. Justice is not always beautiful, but it is necessary. I learned this in prison. I learned it from Margaret, who taught me that wealth is for free spirits. From other women, I learned that power comes from achieving the impossible. I learned from myself that sometimes the only person who can save you is yourself. Here I am. Alina Ashford. Maya Winters. CEO of an $840 million empire. Survivor, warrior, victor. Right now, I'm looking out the window of my office at the city. On the 43rd floor. Master of everything I see. And I think about who I was 10 years ago. When I was released from prison, scared, indecisive, wondering if I could do this. I wish I could have told him, yes, you can do it. You will struggle, you will be tested, you will want to give up. But you won't give up. Because you're stronger than you think. And what lies on the other side of all this pain? Freedom, strength, justice. Everything you deserve is there. I'm thinking of you too, as you read this. Maybe you've been betrayed. Maybe someone you trusted destroyed you. Maybe you're in your own prison, literally or figuratively. And you wonder if you can escape it. Here's what I've learned. You can survive. But surviving isn't enough. You must resist, you must rebuild, you must become a new person. A stronger person, someone they can never hurt again. It won't be easy. It wasn't easy for me either. But it's possible. And you deserve it. Here's my question for you. If someone betrayed you and took everything from you, would you fight to get it back? Would you become a new person to reclaim what was stolen? What would you do differently? Think about it, and if you want, share your story. Because stories like mine, like yours, matter. They remind us that we're not alone, that we are stronger than we think. And sometimes, the best revenge is refusing to stay broken. I learned this after 10 years in prison. I learned it from a woman who was about to die, who gave me everything. From the ashes of Alina Ashford. And from Maya Winters' rise. Now they are both mine, forever. And finally, I am free.